So can you give me your name?
Rodney Wright.
W-R-G-H-T. Rod Wright, you drove a long way to be here today in Parker County, didn't you?
Yes.
And you're here both for your son and for your grandson. What were your thoughts about what took place today?
Well,
let's speak up just a little bit.
After sitting through hours and hours of family court, I think that there's a lot that needs to be done to revamp it, for one thing. And everything that took place in there, as far as I'm concerned, is smoke and mirrors. The most important thing on this particular case is that no one listens to my grandson.
That's right.
What he wishes. And no one, especially the courts, will allow him to sit down with a judge. And I don't know why he couldn't go in and get in closed doors behind the court and be one-on-one with the judge and tell him what he really wishes. And that's what's beyond me. This is really a simple matter.
It is a very simple matter, and that's what got me fired up a couple of weeks ago when we were here and his father was saying, just let the child speak. And then the mother's attorney kept on objecting to him speaking. Right. And then he said, we'll take him in chambers, and the judge would not do that. Judge Graham Quisenberry would not talk with him. And he's been trying to get a voice for over a year, and he's been silenced. I mean, you probably know more than I do, but when I've talked with him, because he's asked me to come up to the house and speak with him, he says, I want to live with my father.
Exactly.
And he accuses
he wants to go to school in Frisco, so that's his goal. Finish high school there, then go off to college and have his own life. But now it's just been, he's living in misery. And no one will listen to him. Right,
no one will listen to him, and that includes Judge Graham Quisenberry. Graham Quisenberry will not listen to him. And I don't know if you heard me talk earlier, but the Texas Supreme Court has made some determinations about factors that are included with the best interest of the child. One of the first factor is that to listen to the desires of the child. And the son has been very, very clear, I want to live with my father. The third factor is he should not be in a place of either emotional or physical danger. Now, you might know more than I do, but I have seen the records in which evidently there was some abuse that took place, physical abuse, both medical records and police records.
Right.
Do you know of anything?
He had bruises on him. He's been abused actually in the house before, just slammed against the wall. Brought a paint gun, which they're dangerous, even though they don't shoot real bullets, but paint gun up close can hurt you.
Right.
And he was threatened with one of those ones.
Well, I heard that it was his stepfather that actually shot it at him. I don't know if did he?
He didn't hit him.
Oh, he didn't hit him. He just scared him with it. Okay,
he was just threatening him.
Okay, and the thing that I find a little bit despicable is that his stepfather is a retired police officer. And it's amazing. But then he talks as if, he wants to be the son's new father, or somehow a better father than his real father.
His real father is a great dad, and that's the biggest problem with this family court system. They use an umbrella and they cover the entire system on the deadbeat dads, and there are some.
Right.
I'll promise you, my son is not a deadbeat dad.
He's not. And
he loves his son. That's all. That's his main thing in life.
Right.
He spent his whole life. He'll be 15 years old here in just a month or so. And Rustin has spent his whole life trying to do what he can for his child.
Right. And I've seen pictures of them from years back. It's not like this is a dad who's just coming on the scene.
Oh, no.
He's been there the entire time.
It's nonstop.
But now, I'm assuming at the same time, you've been there as well. Is that correct? I mean, not to the same degree as your son, obviously, but you have a relationship with him.
Exactly. You bet.
And so has he been out to your...
Oh, he comes out, his dad will bring him over and they'll spend the weekend. We have a great time. We live out in the country. It's a small town, and there's things they enjoy. We have a little lake where we have some cabins, and they go out there and fish and ride around in the canoe and have fun and that sort of thing. And they're always doing something. And even when they don't make it to our place, I talk to my son, and he tells me they have like an itinerary when they're together. They're going to do this and this and this, and they just work it out, and they have a wonderful time together.
Right, right. So I want to ask you about something else. You're a grandfather here. Obviously, you have a good relationship with your grandson, and you just asked one of the bailiffs when he's coming out,
Right,
because you
I
wanted
wanted to say goodbye.
to say goodbye.
Yeah, and they sent us out the front door when they were surrounding my grandson. And apparently they took him out another part of the courthouse, and I was just hanging around because I didn't get a chance to, tell him bye and I love him.
Right. And the question that I have is, what crime did your grandson commit?
Nothing.
But he's going to juvenile detention right now.
Right.
Because Graham Quisenberry did not want him to go with his father.
Right.
So instead of having him go with the father, as you've said, and we all know, was an outstanding dad, and yet Graham Quisenberry, a judge, and I would argue an abusive judge, a judge who very well who ordered actually him to go back with his mother and stepfather, who has been accused of abusing him, and who does not listen to the child. Now instead, Ayden is in juvenile detention because he will not go.
Right. He's on his way to, I think, Dallas.
Yeah. And I mean, I wonder what the procedure for this is. And it is sickening that these courts will do that. So now you have a son who may be subject to other type of trauma in juvenile detention.
Right.
And somehow we're supposed to be okay. So you as a grandfather just want to say to your grandson how much you love him.
Sure.
And you don't even get to say that.
No.
And I'm sure that his father felt the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Did not even.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So did they say anything about how long he's going to be out there?
No, we don't know anything at all.
Yeah.
We
So
don't have a clue.
So after I think you were in the courtroom today, or you were there when we witnessed the trial and everything, and then afterwards when he came back out, there was a bailiff Kane. Did you see how abusive he was?
Yes, I did.
I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, was I right to leave out of fear of being thrown into jail?
Right. He wanted all phones turned off, no videos. Phones couldn't even be on out in the lobby.
Right.
They had to be not just silenced, but turned literally off.
And the interesting thing was, I took a look at the door and I got a picture of it, and it says, if the mobile phone should be silenced in the courtroom, and then there's a new sign up there that says no electronics and everything. And I said, this is the contradictory message, effective today. And the reason it's effective today is because they knew that somehow last time that Rustin was in court here, there was an audio recording. Now, who made it, how we obtained it, stuff like that, that's neither here nor there, but they obviously they do not want public exposure.
No, they don't want any public exposure. The court system, like I said, it's all the way down the line, it's not set up properly. You take each individual case. You can't just say because we have a problem with fathers not wanting to have anything to do with their children, not paying their child support and that sort of thing. It just covers them all now. It doesn't matter. You just if you're doing great with your son or your daughter or whoever, it doesn't count anymore.
Right.
And it's not right.
And what I thought was very interesting was when Rustin was asking for an attorney and Judge Quisenberry denied him an attorney, and then so he's not allowed to have an attorney. He's facing possible imprisonment over a lying, perjurous charge that's being made against him. Yeah. And that's why I came out here, to see what was going to happen and to try to help in the situation the best that I could. So after Judge Quisenberry denies him and then basically reads him his Miranda rights because he objected and he started to testify, and the judge basically told him that, if you do this, it can be used against you. What is he supposed to do? So then he has another instance where they're talking about imprisonment, and he said, I want a lawyer.
Right.
And the judge, again, was going to deny that, except the amicus attorney said, according to the Texas Family Code, I think it was like 157, something 103, I don't remember what it was exactly, said, you have to give him one. The judge didn't know.
No.
The judge did not know that he had to give him an attorney.
Did not know.
But then I saw,
obvious.
And then I saw, he said, well, he made him fill out an affidavit of indigency, because the only way he could get an attorney is if he was indigent. Right. So I saw the affidavit that he was filling out. It was not a simple form.
It wasn't.
I mean, we spent half an hour, and he went about half an hour. He went back inside, and he wasn't done. He's in there. I watched him. He's trying to, calculate numbers and trying to do the right thing, trying to be conscientious, trying to be accurate. And then, he went back in a second. He went back in, and the judge was like, well, what's it taking you so long? If you're indigent, it shouldn't take you so long. And then we talked about credit card debt. He said, well, if you have a credit card, you're not indigent. And I mean, this was crazy. This judge, Judge Graham Quisenberry, was absolutely abusive. What I also found as well, and I was glad at the very end though, that finally he did ask him about an attorney and actually has put this thing into recess for 2 weeks. So on October 18th, Friday, October 18th, 9 a.m., the hearing will be here in Parker County at Weatherford at the court building. So anybody who's available October 18th, Friday, October 18th, 9 a.m., to come and witness some more injustice in the 415th Judicial District Court in Texas with Judge Graham Quisenberry presiding. Please come out here. We need people to watch this. But the other thing was, you're out here as a father. I'm out here just to observe. And it is crazy how, because I'm here to observe, I have a bailiff threatening to throw me in jail.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, I don't know if you saw this, but the alleged abusive stepfather, he threatened me as well.
Yes.
And I mean, I was surprised. Here he is, a retired police officer, trying to hide behind his badge of I was a retired police officer, threatening me at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, this is absolutely incredible.
To come to court to really know and understand the situation.
That's exactly right. And what I've said to other people is that even when you read it on the paper, even when other people tell you about it, the horrors that you see in person, they're so much worse than what you think. You know, okay, I've heard him talk about this, it must be bad, it must be really, really bad. When you see what happens in person,
exactly.
This is horrifying.
You sit there and watch and listen, and you will know.
Right. And furthermore, as we talked about, you know, there was another attorney who said, this judge does not know the law. And he said, what he told me as well, he said, many of these judges don't know the law. They don't know the law, so why do we have judges that don't know the law? And with Rustin, he actually, in my opinion, he deprived Rustin of his right to an attorney and then forced him to say something before reading him his Miranda rights. This is a complete deprivation of rights. And in my opinion, this judge, Judge Graham Quisenberry, needs to be completely investigated and possibly prosecuted. And because the deprivation of rights under the color of law, and an actor that pretends to be a judge who deprives somebody of rights is actually guilty of a federal crime. It's 18 U.S.C. Title 242. And he needs to be looked at for this, because you know that it happened here to your son, it's happened to many other people. And I've heard I've had people that I haven't really known have contacted me about Parker County. They've said, you cannot believe how bad it is. And in fact, one person says, this is like Boss Hoggs and his minions. And that's how bad it is out here. And
I believe it.
Yeah. And I would say at the same time, because I want to be careful with this, there were a couple of people that we met, police officers, law enforcement, they were outstanding people. Yes. You know, so it's hard when you're talking about the corruption in a court and the corruption and the abusiveness that you witness. It's hard to, you have to still step back and say, probably most of the people are still good.
Yes.
But I mean, I also saw the body cam of the one police officer, and I will tell you that in my opinion, that police officer abused your grandson. I think he should be investigated for abuse. But anyway, so do you plan to be back out here again in 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay. Again, we have other people that are looking at this as well. We may have a crowd. We're going to try to get some media out here.
It could be solved simply, though, very easily, if someone would, with the power, like the judge, sat down and talked with my grandson.
Right.
And ask him, what do you want to do?
Right.
He speaks out to everyone else, and his mother won't listen at all. But he can't talk to the right person, and that person is the judge. But why in the world will they not allow him to go in and sit down and just one-on-one?
Yeah, yeah.
And hopefully, if he could do that, then the judge would grant his wishes.
But the problem is this: at this point, I have lost all confidence in the impartiality of Judge Quisenberry. I mean, I know that that's what he should be able to do. I'm sure in some instances he can. But from the very beginning, the first time that I came here, He was after your son.
Yeah.
He was mad at him because he was pro se. He picked up on a couple of things, and it was abusive. And prior to this hearing here, there was actually a hearing on the motion to recuse Judge Graham Quisenberry because of his bias and other things. Now, Judge David Evans, the good thing is this. First off, the people who were trying to make a motion against your son or whatever, they did not get attorney fees. But the judge actually said it is warranted. It is denied, but it was warranted. Had it not been warranted, it would have been considered frivolous, and your son would have had yet more legal fees. By the way, how much money has your son spent over the years fighting? Over 100,000.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, you're right. And it's gone on for so many years. That's the reason he's representing himself.
Right.
You know.
And that's what I thought was interesting, because he's saying, how can you be indigent? To which he would say, I'm here representing myself because I can't afford an attorney.
Exactly.
And so he was supposed to be given a court-appointed attorney. Judge Quisenberry actually did deny him, was going to deny him again, except fortunately there was one man, the amicus attorney for your grandson, who said, by the way, you need to do this if you are seeking incarceration. And once again, Graham Quisenberry, the judge, did not know the law, had to look up the law, and had to be reprimanded. And not reprimanded formally, but he had to be maybe swallow some pride, because he did such a terrible job. Basically, when these judges think that they're gods, and whatever they think or say or determine or whatever is the law, something needs to be done. These people need to be investigated.
Exactly.
So is there anything else you want to say, other than the fact that I know you miss your grandson right now?
Oh, yeah.
And this is completely abusive, that he's in juvenile detention?
Yeah, apparently that's where he's at now.
And you know, when I've gone up to see him, because he's requested me to come up there a couple of times, he's very well taken care of.
Oh yeah, he's a great boy. He's intelligent, responsible.
Yeah.
You know, he loves to read. He reads books all the time, and he's kind to everyone.
He is.
He's a very loving person.
Yeah.
And he just wants to have his life from this point on with his father.
With his father. And you know, something else, if you were talking about how intelligent he is, I know that in the last trial they had a transcript. We don't know whether he's gone to homeschool. Well, I was actually up there. I saw his transcript. I saw his grades. His lowest grade, I think he had 288s and an 89, and then the rest were 90s, and I think he even had 100. So, and it was a homeschool. Right. You know, it's so hard. For them to try to,
difficult.
Yeah, it is difficult. And you know, so your son is not violating any orders. He's trying to do the best that he can.
Sure.
Then the other thing is that we don't even know if Judge Quisenberry has jurisdiction in this.
Exactly.
So, but Judge Quisenberry refuses to look at that fact. And so he's acting as, in my opinion, a rogue, an abusive, and tyrannical judge. Right. I think he's unjust. I hope that the people in Parker County vote him out. And I hope that perhaps our legislature will perhaps start proceedings to impeach him, because with this type of behavior, we need to have this judge looked at. I will be glad to testify. I know other people that will be very glad to testify. And it's just abusive what took place today. Anyway, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, maybe to make you feel like a little bit uncomfortable, whatever, but I hope you get to see your grandson.
My two boys, I love them, and I pray for them every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope everybody watching and listening will pray for them also.
Yeah, I'm sure. There's a lot of things in praying for the whole situation, and it is a shame that you can have a person who appears, and I'm not a person to diagnose, but who shows some characteristics perhaps of being a little bit of either a narcissist or perhaps even a sociopath. Maybe that's going too far with it, but how that person can cause such damage and cause a person to have to spend over $100,000, take time off of work, be threatened with jail. And again, your son was threatened with jail on multiple instances today, and had it not been for that one amicus attorney that caused the judge to realize he was violating the law, he might be in jail right now. So anyway, thank you so much. Look forward to others will see this, I'm sure.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you.